when we get to the halfway stage of the innings, we generally tend to lean towards one side or the other. Batting team bats and gets about 170, 180. You know you're heading towards them. Bowling side gets the opposition 125 all out. You know which way you're leaning. This is the kind of total that you could well be forgiven for sitting on the fence. 154 for 7 in 20 overs. No one really getting to a half century. Moin Ali was there. Just as he started to accelerate, he was dismissed. Raidu started well and then evened out to a strike rate of 100 and a bit of a kick from the Chennai captain. But some outstanding bowling from both Natarajan and Washington Sundar. I wonder if my panel has any more light to shed on it. I'm firmly sitting on the fence. Joy Bhattacharjya, Harsha Bhogle joins us on Cricbuzz Live. Is there enough space on that fence, Harsha, or are you suggesting Chennai may have got enough in the end?
No, there's enough people there. The fence is creaking a little bit. There's a lot of people sitting on it at the moment. I think 160, 165 was a good score on this track. If you're a Chennai fan, you take encouragement by looking at Washington Sundar's figures. 4 overs, 2 for 21. And you say, okay, I've got 3 in my side. If required, I've got Jadeja, Moin Ali, and I'm playing Tikshana. So I can draw some solace from that. If pace off is going to be a factor, Bravo's good at taking pace off. Jordan does a fair bit of that. And the last time they played a game on this surface, KKR made 128 and RCB huffed and puffed and required a proper Cricbuzz man to take them home. So if you're Chennai, you want to look at those numbers, but I don't think I've seen enough to suggest that 154 is a match-winning score. We often say you got something to bowl at, but doesn't guarantee you anything.
Yeah, the only Cricbuzz man we have out there has already done his bit, 15 of 11 Joy. Robin Uthappa looked good while he was there. Ruturaj looked good while he was there. And I think that was the story of the innings. The batsmen who got in looked really good. Moin Ali, Ambati Raidu, Jadeja towards the end. But nobody really managed to kick on to get them that maybe 170.
I think that's what, look at Ambati Raidu, and that's something that will tell you that, that's a very unusual figure. If Ambati Raidu gets in and starts timing the ball, normally he sort of accelerates from that 100 to 120, 125, 135, 40, depending on how long he stays there. Here, he got going, but he just couldn't keep that strike rate, which tells you that it's not an easy pitch to bat on by any means. But it also tells you that they bowled very well. Plus, what happened with them was, I think, they got that 1 over out of Markram, so they didn't have to bowl that 4th over from Umran Malik, which we had been discussing at that point in time, that how do they sneak in that extra over. But what they did also get is, on a pitch like this, somebody like Marco Jansen looked pretty good because there was bounce out there and it was difficult to hit when the bounce was steepling up out there. I'm not sure Chennai has too many bowlers who do that very often. I think Chris Jordan might do that a bit, but I don't think Mukesh Chaudhary or Dwayne Bravo are the kind who utilize too much of bounce. So that's one factor out there. Of course, if you look at the spin department, Chennai is a far superior team in terms of the arsenal that they can bring to bear on this. So it's going to be a fascinating match. It's an absolutely fascinating lineup because the fast bowling is not going to scare them, but the spin might well do something here.
Yeah, Harsha's already suggested that. Moin Ali is batted out there. He's seen the conditions. Ravindra Jadeja is batted out there. They know what to expect with ball in hand. And of course, it's our first look at Tikshana in the yellow jersey. But Joy and I were chatting about that 1 extra over. We were even suggesting Harsha 2 extra overs to try and take away. And we saw what happened with that 1 extra over from Aiden Markram. It was frugal and he got a wicket.
And it also told you that if you put in extra pace, the batsmen weren't getting scared by it. 145, 146 doesn't scare people these days, especially because they've got all these exotic shots. And so they had to go to someone, again, taking a little bit of pace off, and Markram delivered an 8-run over. So from that point of view, I think CSK have got a little edge in that they have those kind of bowlers. But, I didn't think it's a 130 surface. I don't know if anyone of you got the impression watching it that it was difficult enough to get to 130. Because Moin Ali's innings is an example. If you stay in there, Moin Ali scored, 48 of 35. So Moin Ali's gone at 137. Now, if everyone goes at 130, you've got you've got the game. If everyone goes at 130, you've got the game. So if one of them goes 140, that's still enough. So that's why I just think maybe marginally Sunrisers. But I look down that lineup, and if Williamson is not scoring big, I'm thinking who is? Because Puran is I mean, he's a good player, but he's not done it often enough for my liking. I mean, we all talk a lot about Puran, but he doesn't do it often enough for my liking. This is the kind of game where if you want a Puran in your side, you want a Markram in your side, then this is the kind of game where they take you home.
You do. But again, now going back to what we suggested at the start of the game, Joy, picking up from the way Moeen Ali played, obviously Raidu slowed down. Do you then look at telling Markram, look, this is the kind of total, we'd like a solid start and someone to play almost your test match type of innings to be there? Or do you stick to the formula you've got?
I think it's a bit too much because it's 154. It's not 140 or 135, and I don't know where they'll bat Abhishek Sharma if they don't bat him out there. The interesting thing what I say is that what Harsha's talking about being about 10-15 short between the 14th and the 18th overs, 5 overs they couldn't cross double figures. They just reached out there, but 8-run overs, 7-run overs, which is very, very unusual for them. So they didn't really get away as much. They got 25 in the last 2, but they didn't, given the fact that they had wickets in hand, I don't think they really took as much advantage as Chennai normally does. Chennai normally really takes toll in the final overs. I don't think this was a classic Chennai kick at the end. I mean, they just, when Dhoni was there, he got out. They kept getting out. I don't think they just did that last momentum was only those last 2 overs.
Yeah, they didn't get the finishing kick because they have but one striker in Jadeja. If Shivam Dube comes off, there is Shivam Dube, but they really don't have that end overs player. You look and say, right, I think this guy can get you 12, 13 and over. It's only Jadeja who's doing that.
Certainly is, but you've got to give credit to a couple of the bowlers there. Natarajan started things off. There was a stage when he was just bowling Yorkers for fun. You see his final analysis, couple of boundaries in his last 2 balls, but otherwise almost an impeccable spell, Harsha. I'm not sure if you play a lot of, or if you've played any cricketing video games. When you're a bowler in that, you just simply choose a spot on the pitch, you click OK, and then the bowler runs in and bowls. It's almost as if he has a machine to pull his Yorkers out like that.
And that's a good sign, not just for the Sunrisers. Natarajan coming back, left-hander, can bowl at the death is a very good sign for Indian cricket too. I mean, you asked me the other day, is Bhuvi going to be in your team or Char going to be in your team? I don't have Natarajan yet, but if Natarajan is nailing those Yorkers, then that's excellent news. It's very good news for Sunrisers. Now, if they can convert this to 2 points, then the good news is that Bhuvi is starting to bowl well. Natarajan is bowling well. Washington is bowling all right. Marco Jansen can come in and bowl quiet overs. They're starting to get that side of their game, but their batsmen need to deliver the 2 points here. But Natarajan was fantastic. We talk about the Yorkers, but how good was the ball that swung in to Ruturaj? And if he can get that ball swinging in early on into the pads, then he can give you 1 in the power play, 1 between and two at the back.
Yeah, and that combination, Joy, early on with Natarajan at the one end and Sundar almost controlling things like a veteran. I mean, he has been around for a little while right now, but just showing his value. You already mentioned his value with the bat in hand, but the 4 overs he's giving you right now and right here, 4 overs, 2 for 21, and it's not just today, every single time.
I mean, Sundar has been absolutely fantastic. He's controlled the bowling. And ever so often the batsman has come down the track and not reached the ball. He's pulled it back. He's bowled wide. He's done everything. He has every trick. And the point is, because he's a tall man, he can do things like that. He can control the ball better. And he doesn't flight it much at all. And you don't need to in this kind of format. Doesn't turn it very much. But his control is excellent. And he has great temperament. I mean, I thought he bowled an outstanding spell today. Look, this bowling is coming together. Marco Jansen also wasn't easy to get off the park. Okay. So you have a bowling attack that is now giving you quite a few pieces that make sense. Now it's your batting. And I was just looking back. I mean, who's their most crucial piece? Kane Williamson. 735 runs in 2018. Of course, he played for 17 innings. Then it goes down to 156 in 19, but he's played very few matches. He's played just 9 matches. 2020, 317 in 12. 2021, 266 in 12. Now, those are not figures that Kane Williamson will look at and say that, he may not be a 700-run batsman every year, but he's definitely a 450 to a 550-run batsman. They need him to show some kind of form. More than anyone else in that team, it's him. He has to lead by example.
Yeah, no doubt at all. If Sunrisers have to go anywhere in this tournament, then Williamson has to deliver a 500, 520 run season for them.
Well, more than anything else, all you'd have to do is go back to the auction or before the auction. I mean, you've got the only talking point, if and when you talked about the Sunrisers, was their 3 retentions. Now, Umran Malik is exciting to watch, but it's like watching one of those speedster contests where you're holding your breath, but you're not getting a result out of it. Abdul Samad, he's not even in the team today. So, Joy, that means more responsibility, not just as captain, but as the only retained player essentially contributing.
Yeah, and he has to do it because otherwise the batting is just, I mean, Puran is just at this point in time not consistent enough. Markram needs a bit more. They can all get going, but he needs to be that talisman for the team. And, otherwise the only batsman who's looking in any kind of form right now is Rahul Tripathi and to a certain extent Washington Sundar. Nobody else is looking for them. They need something else. Maybe Shashank Singh can give them a little bit more today. This is actually a good total to chase for this kind of team. If you remember Sunrisers, when they played their best cricket, they were a team who'd sort of get to 155, 60 and make teams struggle to get there. They would sort of chase down 140s, 145 totals. They were always a team that controlled you with their bowling and then sort of got across the line. That was always the Sunrisers at their best. And I think that's a formula they understand. Just as we understand Chennai is not going to scare you with their bowling, but they'll score big runs and then they'll put pressure on you with their spinners and maybe have one opening bowler like Chehra who gives you something.
We're going to have 2 matchups, or rather 2 individuals who haven't really been seen at all. Tikshana, of course, has been seen in a different stage. Shashank Singh, wearing orange, will be somewhere sneaking in that middle order for the Sunrisers in this run chase. But for now, there's no change at the top. It is Abhishek Sharma in his assigned spot next to Captain Kane Williamson. We feel that Chennai have a decent total on the board, but maybe it's the place to be at the moment is 50-50. We'll know after the power play. Joy, where are you standing right now? I think we are both firmly in or on either side of a fence.
I'm going to stick my neck out and say I'm going to go with Sunrisers today. I think at some point the batting has to click.
They're not going to be very popular down in Chennai, because if that were to happen, if Joy's words were to come true, it's...
But listen, they're neighbors. They're neighbors in Chennai. The Chennai Super Kings and Sunrisers, they're neighbors in Chennai. They probably are having a cup of coffee with each other and just checking out if there's enough chicory in the filter coffee.
I'm not sure that neighborly spirit will be there if orange chases yellow down today. Well, there's
I don't know
lots
the
to...
local industrial politics in Chennai, but I don't think there's a lot of difference. But okay, Hyderabad should be disappointed if they don't win this.
Yeah, they've certainly done the first part of the game as pretty much almost as they would have liked. Maybe those last 2 overs, they would have been thinking 14 runs, not 25, few wides from Bhuvaneshwar, but they'll take what they got early on from Washington Sundar, from Natarajan. It's going to be an interesting power play. It's going to be an interesting first 10 overs that should pretty much define this run chase. And we'll be there to report and analyze that on Cricbuzz Combox. But for now, that's all we have from Joy, Harsha and myself on Cricbuzz Live.